posting that and the commentary that I said about Nazism, because I said it's inaccurate to talk about neo-Nazism in the United States. I don't think that white Americans who engage in genocide, hatred, advocate for racial purity and eugenics, I said they are not behaving like Nazis because they predate the Nazis. And in fact, it would be more appropriate to call the Nazis neo-Americans, because many of the Nazi policies and the Nazi ideologies originated here in the United States. And if you're going to want to go back further than the United States, then you have to go back to Great Britain. So it is Germany carries that burden. And the only reason we walk around talking about neo-Nazis is because the Nazis lost the war. And that's the only difference between the Allied and the Axis powers, is one won and one lost, because the racial ideology and the racialist policies of the Nazis are all but identical to the Americans. And oftentimes, the Nazis were even confused and flabbergasted that the European powers were even mobilizing against them, because they said, hey, I'm just like you. I just need a little Lebensraum, a little living space. And that's what the British Crown did when they expanded into the Americas. We did nothing different than what the Americans did with the Native Americans who were in their way, who were in the way of progress. And when the United States went and took Alaska, after taking the mainland US, went and took the Hawaiian Islands, and went and took over the Philippines, and went into the Caribbean, and went into Panama, and we just killed the people who we feel get in our way. Is that so wrong? And then we put in laws to suppress the lesser people? I know Hitler probably sat in that bunker confused as hell. Like, what am I missing here? You know? And right now, if the Nazis hadn't lost, if the Nazis has won, because, and I'm also fond of quoting myself when I said that the Nazi military lost the war, but the Nazi ideology won. If you haven't done so already, this is more common knowledge now than it was just a few years ago, but just go look up Operation Paperclip, or go watch the movie The Boys of Brazil. The bulk of the Nazi elites, the wealthy Nazis, the corporations that funded the Nazis, that created the Nazi war machine, Pfizer, IBM, they're still here. Many of the Nazis, through Operation Paperclip and other schemes, were brought here to the United States and lived very comfortable and privileged lives. The movie The Boys of Brazil, many Nazis went into Latin America and lived out very comfortable retirements. There's novels, there's romance novels, there are books, Hollywood movies talking about how can you be a vicious, bloodthirsty Nazi and then go into a place, the so-called Latin America, and live so comfortably. It wasn't because they were hiding. It wasn't because they changed their ideology. It's because Latin America was founded on racialist genocide and still is a racist, racial hierarchy state. Throughout Latin America, Latin American nations are racist, anti-Black, commit genocide against the natives, imperialist settler colonies, just like the United States, just like Germany was trying to set up. So it's ironic, a social media platform founded by a man who says he's of Jewish heritage, who was a victim of a Nazi, will turn around and suspend my account because I posted something saying that the police, the US government, its intelligence agencies, its military, actually predate and supersede the Nazis. And I have the historical proof to back it up. I didn't call nobody no names that I couldn't confirm or verify. It ain't slander if it's true. I mean, I'm not a professional journalist, but I know that much. It ain't slander if it's true. So all I did was try to tell people quit. And this was, what's weird is that the algorithm is mad slow, because I posted this months ago, if not a year ago. Because every now and then I'm dwelling in the United States of America under this genocidal, homicidal, ecocidal settler colony of the United States of America. And then you'll start to hear in the community, people start talking about neo-Nazis, neo-Nazis, neo-Nazis. And I'm like, that's just not fair to the Nazis. And I'm not weeping for the Nazis. Now somebody gonna cut that little piece out and send it across the world. Bro, Diallo's crying about the Nazis not being treated fair. But in this one, it's just it's just, Immortal Technique said one time, they're not as good as me, they just have better marketing schemes. The United States has better marketing, has better PR, but it doesn't have a bloodless or less racist, less genocidal history. Hitler was murdering people across the land. Number one, he said, made it very clear, he was only fighting for Lebensraum. Hitler literally, if you look at his Lebensraum ideology, it was no different than Manifest Destiny that came a century before. Hitler was a big fan of Western novels. And I don't know, they didn't teach us that in history. I had to learn that reading Howard Zinn and Noam Chomsky and other white people who that they'll never make a statue of, that they'll never give a national holiday to. Every single white man that was on the walls of my little inner city grade school, every single white man that I got to sit at home instead of going to that school because of a day of recognition, every single honored, beloved, and celebrated white man was an absolute villain. And it took me into my university years to find out that there were actually some white people who weren't villains. Smedley Butler, Eugene Debs, John Brown. I had to become an adult who had to pay out of pocket for education instead of getting my free mandated education and my free welfare lunch. And I was even signed up for free breakfast. And that halfway toasted white bread they give us and that pungent orange juice. But hey, I ain't complaining. It got me here. Shout out to D.A. Holmes Elementary School. Shout out to Knott's Elementary School and the cafeteria staff there that will give you extra milk and butter crunch cookies. Well, I'm going off, but anyway, I had to go out and pay out of pocket and go into debt to even many people go off to university and still don't learn that. I tell y'all this story all the time, and I'm gonna tell you again because I'm frustrated and annoyed with technical difficulties. So this is just self-soothing that I'm engaged in. But I had a history professor at Chicago State University. This white woman who was a liberal, who was a progressive, who could have went to teach anywhere in the world, but she wanted to come to the hood and teach little black folks. And you know how the liberals are. They wear those wispy clothes and they have that wispy hair and they speak in the wispy tone, the earthy, liberal, do-gooder, white savior white folks. So I was taking her class of history and theology. And I learned early on when they first put me in special ed and flunked me in grade school that I'm like, wow, you can't just say something. Being right ain't enough. You need citations and you need legitimate sources for your thoughts. Your own brain is not a legitimate source, and other black people's brains aren't legitimate source. You need to find white folks to say white things in a white way to back up your black thoughts in academia, not in the streets, not in the hood, but in academia. So anyway, this white woman, we're teaching this class history and theology, and I'm bringing in my history books to validate my paper. She's the one that assigned those 12-page double-spaced papers, and so anyway, she came to me one day in front of the whole class, tried to call me out, and said that I act like all white people are bad, that I believe all white people are bad. And I'm sure she teaches at Chicago State. I'm pretty sure she's had her run-in with Nation of Islam cult members, white man, the devil, and all that. And I'm like, I don't think the white man is the devil. I don't think the devil exists, nor does God. I don't put things, even if I use that terminology, I'm being facetious because I don't buy into none of that supernatural nonsense. And she said, well, if someone listens to you, they would think all white people are bad. And I said, no, I don't think all white people are bad. I said, you think all white people are bad. I said, white people think all white people are bad. And she looks at me confused with her Harvard PhD in history and theology. Double major. And she says, what? I said, all the white people that white folks have taught me about are bad white people. I said, all of the monuments that I see built up. I was from Missouri to New York City to here in Chicago. Now it's more aware now. This is way before we started tearing down Confederate statues and all that and Confederate flags. This was almost a decade or more ago. Who knows? Time just all fuses together when you get to be my age. But I'm like, Columbus statues, George Washington's on our money. Hamilton's a Broadway hit play. I'm like, every single white person that is celebrated in white history, that's a white monuments, white holidays on white money, is a monster, is a rapist, a pedophile, enslaver, genocidist. And I didn't tell y'all to do that. I didn't force white folks voluntarily did that. So white people only celebrate bad white people. And then I asked her, do you know who Smedley Butler is? She said, no, never heard of him. PhD in history from Harvard. Never heard of one of the greatest military men, the man that Rambo, some say Rambo was based on. And so then I started naming all these. I said, do you know who Sean Swain is? Political prisoner? No. White, there's a white Mubia Abu Jamal out there somewhere. All the white socialists, all the white anarchists, all the white militant labor unionists, all the white militant armed abolitionists get scratched from history. And if they are brought up, they're brought up as some crazy anomaly, but they ain't gonna get on no money. They ain't gonna get no statues from white folks. They ain't gonna get no holiday, national holiday. The whistleblowers, yes, thank you, Lala. All the white whistleblowers, they chasing from Chelsea Manning over there to that Julian Assange and Edward Snowden. Just today, you think any of those three good white people who did good white things are going to get any type of recognition from the official white system? So anyway, that's what I told her. I said, you, white folks think the white man is the devil. Y'all don't think y'all could do any better. Can you imagine, black folks having our own system, having our own country, having our own currency, setting up our own calendar? And we have Mobutu Sese Seko Day. Can you be like all about the Clarence Thomas's baby? We put Clarence Thomas on a $100 bill, all about the Thomas's baby. No. And now when I look at black, and all men and women are flawed. But do you think there'll ever be a Candace Owens t-shirt in the hood? Do you think our grandkids or great grandkids will ever have a Candace Owens poster? We don't honor our wretched, disgusting Uncle Tom sellout handkerchief head. We don't do that. We just don't. I don't know why. I don't even know who set those rules because we do have scumbag black folks. Don't get mad at me. We just do. But when it came to the posters, and then when we find out you scum, we'll snatch you down. I remember when I first became a conscious, young, pro-black man at 14, I read Soul on Ice, and I used to read about quotes from Cleaver of the Black Panthers. I mean, like, man, that dude was cold-blooded. He said some slick stuff about beating up on white folks and tearing down the white man's system. Then I later find out he was a sexual predator and a sexist and a sellout to boot. How you go from being a Black Panther to being a Mormon? Anyway, once I found out, you don't see me quoting, I don't mess around with Cleveland no more. So even if you get in an honored place in Black history and we find out you're the scum of the earth, we're going to kick you to the curb. So even our most wretched Black people have to pretend to be righteous, like Farrakhan, man. Even our worst Black folks, they better pretend and act like they on our side. You know, the most parasitic Black folks try to act humble, like they ain't got it. So that's a Black tradition that at least I'd like to hold on to, even after the revolution comes. That most Black traditions, things y'all think is Black. I'd like to throw into what Dr. Clark might say, the ash can of history. The one thing is the marking of villainous Blacks from our honored spaces and the uplifting of just and righteous, revolutionary Black people to places of honor and recognition. My grandkids, great-grandkids, gonna be wearing Malcolm X t-shirts, and there will never be nobody walking around with a Clarence Thomas tattoo t-shirt. Never trend. So I don't care how great he is, quote unquote, according to white folks' standards for greatness, being a Supreme Court justice. So anyway, I don't know how I got off on that tangent. I digress, and I apologize for the technical difficulties.